Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Another episode. Here we are, Dr. Janae Abel Harris, and I'm Dr. Tevis Harris. And this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. So wherever you are, click like, click share. Everybody, we're going to give everybody a couple of minutes to join us. If you are in the room right now, I know that we got some great people backstage, and they are waiting to come on stage with us. And I know that you're going to love them tonight. It's going to be amazing. But this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is Dr. Janae Abel Harris' show that I'm invited to be a part of, and I'm excited about it.
Y'all, that was so shady. That was really shady, but okay.
that I'm invited to be a part of. I'm excited to be a part of it because it's well needed. And we are so excited that you are here with us. Listen, we're going to have a good time tonight. If you have joined the room, if you've seen it on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you are, go ahead and hit like, hit share now. Again, this is Mental Health Awareness. And today's topic, oh my, we're going to take it to the church. We're going to take it to the church house. Listen, today's topic is the church and mental health. And listen, I'm telling you, it's going to be something. Right now, I'm going to pass the mic to Dr. Janae Abel Harris. She's going to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month. This month, May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. Go ahead.
Yeah, so May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we just decided to come on every week this week. I think we've been able to do it week this month to talk about mental health awareness and some topics that are related to that. And we really just wanted to kind of create a space. We really didn't have an idea of where we saw this going, but it was just a space to talk about some of these topics. And we have just been blessed to have the conversation, and we have really enjoyed the feedback about the shows. And so tonight, I'm coming back to my first love, which is talking about faith and mental health, talking about mental health and the church, what we can do. I've seen so many awesome posts about churches focusing on mental health this month. And so I don't think we can talk about it too much, because at first I was like, well, everybody's talking about it, but I don't think we can talk about it too much. And so we just hope to have a conversation tonight that will help pastors, that will help ministry leaders, and everybody just learn how to talk about faith and mental health. I do want to take a moment before we get started to say thank y'all for all the Peace is Power shout outs. Thank you for purchasing the t-shirt. It just means the world to me. And I was thinking about it today. Like, it's more than a t-shirt. It really is an opportunity to say, like, peace is power. And one of my friends texted me and she said, anytime somebody get on her nerves, she's gonna take a picture of her shirt to that person. I said, that's right, because peace is power. Peace is power. Like and share this. We're gonna go ahead and get started, because our guests tonight, I'm going to formally introduce them in a little bit, but they are pastors. I just gave Lady Felicia the title,
you just gave
pastor.
Hey, we're speaking things that are not as though they were. We're excited.
Pastor and Lady Worthy, and she's in the back. We can see her in the back shaking her head, no, but whatever. Pastor and Lady Worthy, because I wanted a pastor to give their perspective, and I think about, and I can talk about this when Pastor Worthy gets on, but I'm hard on pastors. A lot of times, a lot of my writing is about what pastors have done well and what they can do better. But I always enjoy having conversations, because I think so much comes out of conversations. So tonight, we just hope that you learn some things that you can apply to your personal life, but also learn some things that you can apply to your ministries. A lot of you all may be leaders, or you are parishioners, and so you can take this back to your leaders.
So let me reset the room real quickly. I'm just going to reset the room real quickly. Again, we are Doctors Tevis and Janae, or Janae and Tevis Harris. We're excited to bring you a mental health awareness, basically an episode where we just have what I would say sometimes are rare conversations. They're conversations that people don't like to have. They're conversations that people don't like to indulge in, right? Because it can kind of get scary, right? Because mental health can be a stigma for like being crazy and something's wrong with you and all these kind of things. But tonight we're tackling issues that most people don't want to talk about. And can we talk about that just for a little bit? Why is it that people don't want to talk about mental health?
Well, part of it is fear. Like, once you open that can, so to speak, like, where is it going to go? What will you uncover about yourself? And what have you been told is okay to talk about? A lot of times we've been told that we shouldn't talk about our emotions.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about men have been told, don't cry.
Be a man.
Right. It starts
Don't
from
be a punk.
Right. It
That's
starts
what
from
they
an
say,
early
yeah.
age, like saying things like that. And so we have to reconstruct the narrative of what it means to be human. And in the church, we're going to talk about this, I'm sure, tonight. Those messages have been reiterated a lot of times. And so, but we're going to, you got to work the technology.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to bring in Pastor Worthy and Lady Felicia, aka Team Worthy.
Team Worthy's coming on in just a second. Let's invite them to the screen. Are y'all ready? They're backstage, and
let's roll.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on? What's going on, everybody?
We're good. Let's talk about this setup y'all got over there.
You gotta step our game up.
I love it,
man. Listen. We're actually borrowing the Dear Young Preacher podcast studio tonight. That's how that works out.
Hey, so talk to us about that. That's your thing that you have going on called Dear Young Preacher. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, Dear Young Preacher started about maybe 5-6 years ago after a conversation with a fellow preacher in Charlotte, where basically we realized that some of the foundational preachers were passing on, going off the scene, and a lot of the lessons that they taught us were not being continued. So basically, Dear Young Preacher was birthed with the mindset of helping the next generation of preachers prosper by the mistakes that I made along the way, with hopes that they don't make the same mistakes. Right. So, much like this conversation, sometimes we have to really, it gets a little deep, but the whole concept is, if we can help you toward the future by learning from my past, then hey, that's what it's all about.
But you know what? I applaud you for that, because what happens is, I was at a church today, and the actual minister, the preacher, the bishop talked about not telling our story. I applaud you, man, for being transparent.
Absolutely.
Because what we don't do in church, which is traumatizing, is being, I'm jumping dead in.
Right.
We are so, you know what? I'm just gonna say it, fake. We get in church, and and I'm telling you, I grew up and I saw stuff, and I'm like, what in the world is this?
Right.
People don't want to tell the truth.
Absolutely.
And I applaud you, Dr. Worthy, right? Dr. Worthy, for, just being transparent, man.
Right.
We need more of that in marriages, in the church, in life. We need more transparency. And so I applaud you for that. Listen, we ain't gonna waste no time.
No, let's go ahead and get started. So I do want to take a moment just to tell y'all thank you. I'm gonna start off with the first question, but I want to say thank you, and thank you because this relates to mental health. I think what oftentimes I see clients, and when they talk about their spiritual leaders, they feel so untouchable, and they feel like they are they themselves are trying to live up to this image that their pastors and leaders have projected, almost of like being beyond human, like no struggles, no live in such a way, and you carry yourselves in such a way that you are just so accessible. Like you just feel so like, I don't know, connected. And that for those of us who are young in our marriage, who are trying to raise kids, who are trying to stay close to Jesus, who are trying to stay in the church, just for real. Right. It is a blessing to have people like you.
It is.
And so I know that people are watching you from afar a lot. Thank y'all for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We are going to get started. So I came to counseling. I was thinking about my master's program, even going into my doctorate program. Right. I wanted to study the church and mental health. And more specifically, I wanted to talk about the ways in which the Black church had handled mental health. And so in my own experience, I grew up in church. I remember hearing, just pray about it, or you can get through this. Or I remember people saying, like, if a person was struggling with something with mental health, like that person not right or something, like we didn't have the nomenclature for it. And so there are times when I feel like, this research is irrelevant, right? Because we've all reached a better place. And then I'll see like a post on Facebook, or I'll hear a sermon. I'm like, oh my God, like, no, it's not. And so we got to really talk about how we handle mental health. And so my first question that I ask everybody, or I try to ask, is what does mental health mean to you? What comes to mind when you hear mental health?
Yeah.
Take that.
Well, for me, y'all pray for me. Just pray for me.
I say the same thing. I say
Just pray for me. Just pray for me. When I think of mental health, of course, first and foremost, being one who studies words, I have to look at those two words separately and then combine them together. When we think about mental, of course, that is the mindset. And that's not just the mindset, but how we perceive, emotional stance, all of that. And then when we tie into the health piece, basically my question is, how healthy are you emotionally? How healthy are you mentally? And really, Dr. Janae, you've already touched on one thing that has really hurt the church. I think sometimes the church becomes overly scriptural, that we forget that we're ministering to people with issues. I mean, really, in a real sense, we spend so much time trying to cast out and counsel out and pray out when there are people that are just needing a listening ear. They just need somebody that they can talk to and not really look for answers, but just somebody that's willing to listen. So for me, that's what I'm looking at. When I look at mental health, I want to know, how healthy are you, not only when you're with your thought process, but with the way you perceive things. Because sometimes we can look at it right and still see it wrong. So, how are you looking at it? Where are you thinking? Because if the thought process is off, and I mean, scripture says this, if the thought process is off, everything else is going to fall off right behind it.
Chaotic, right? You're being chaotic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, Lady Felicia, like as a wife, where do you see yourself in the midst of all that? Like where does a pastor's wife or a first lady who like oversees the women of the church, where do you fit in all that? Or where do you think mental health fits in all that?
Actually, where I fit in is I just try to make myself open. I'm definitely a listening ear, because a lot of them women-wise won't go to him.
Right.
They'll come to me first.
Right.
So I have to be open. I have to listen carefully, because I don't want to give them wrong feedback, because it can be more damaging. So I have to stop. I have to pray. I have to listen, so I can be able to give them the feedback that's needed. But I'm always trying to be open and be right there to be able to catch them when they're falling.
That's
and,
good.
And one thing about it is a close relationship with me, with God, I can see it before they even come to me. And that's one thing. And I can, when they do come to me, I'll be like, okay, I was just waiting for you.
I was waiting for you to come.
I was waiting for you.
Status, ain't it?
Oh God! I want to hear that. No.
See, I gotta tell this tonight. I gotta tell this. Because so many people are quick to approach her and say, you're a prophet. You're a prophet. And she will say something, and then it actually comes to fruition.
Listen.
Every time it happens, it's like, okay, you're a prophet, right? But really, in a sense, if I could piggyback on that discernment piece, if the church really understood that gifting,
right, I
think a lot of the church's viewpoint from mental health would change.
That's a good point.
Go ahead.
Ask me this, because this is where I struggle theologically and where I struggle as a counselor, because the Bible talks a lot about suffering, right? There's a scripture that talks about, or if I suffer, I will gain eternal life. There's a lot of scriptures that connect suffering to reward. So sometimes subconsciously, but consciously, people who are from church won't come seek out help because they think they're supposed to suffer. And so I oftentimes don't know how to talk about the nuances of how you suffer, but also how you get help, and like how you make sense of that. And so they'll say some things like, well, I'm supposed to be going through, right? I'm supposed to be enduring this pain. I'm like, well, there are opportunities. So as a preacher, because I often, I got to lean on the preachers in this. How do you talk to people about suffering in a way that doesn't keep them stuck there?
First of all, I'd have to say confession is good for the soul, because very early in ministry, that was my message. You know, when I started in ministry, I preached that, you know, we're supposed to suffer. If we suffer with him, we reign with him. And then I came to learn I was so scripturally out of context that it didn't make any sense. The reality of it is the Apostle Paul actually said that we should not think it strange when we suffer, as if it's something unusual that happens to us. The thing about it is the Bible is probably one of the most realist books that are out today. But if we present it wrong, people are going to miss it.
Yeah.
And that's what has happened for so many years. Preachers have preached it wrong. We've taught it wrong. And because we preached it and taught it wrong, folks have been caught up in something and they don't know how to come through and get out of it.
Yeah.
The message that the Bible teaches is if we suffer, not if, when we suffer, we are not suffering alone.
That's good.
That's the piece we don't teach.
That's good. But when I think about suffering, if I go out here and break my ankle, I'm suffering at that moment. But that doesn't mean that I don't go get help.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So that's when I think about suffering. Okay, yeah, we're going to suffer. We're gonna have there are gonna be some consequences for the way we live, the things that we do, and in the midst of those consequences, that doesn't mean that I don't go and seek help.
No.
And so, but that's a good question, Dr. Avent Harris. Like about the intersection, like of mental health, the intersection of theology and mental health, and so I think that that's very important. What other questions do you have for them?
So my question is, what do you think the church has done that's been helpful, and what do you think the church has done that has not been helpful in terms of promoting mental health? And we've kind of touched on a little bit of this, but I always try to give a positive, and because we are, as a people, we owe so much of our development to the Black church. Like there's just no getting around it.
Absolutely.
Every presentation, it remains to me one of the most influential and relevant institutions. Even if people push back on my research sometimes and they say, well, what if a person doesn't identify or doesn't go to church? I say it still doesn't stop the institution from being culturally relevant, right? Even if you take away the spiritual aspect of it. So I say to you, what do you think the church has done right, and what do you think the church needs to improve upon?
I think with a change of generational leadership, we now are seeing more of a promotion of Christians and church folks checking in and getting the mental health. The older preacher, we got to give them much respect because they carried us to this point. But now that we have come to this point and we are dealing with a generation where in some cases there is just as much education and power in the pew as there is in the pulpit.
You better say that.
We now have to really embrace things on a level where we are ministering beyond the letter of scripture. We got to make scripture apply. Let me make it applicable so that I can help you. You know, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace is one thing, but I need to make this thing live because there's some hell I'm facing, and I need somebody to talk me through this.
And you're getting burnt by it, right?
Hello. So I think one of the first things that has happened with that change in generational leadership, with this younger leadership in churches now, bringing to the forefront mental health, making statements that it's okay to be saved and have a therapist, you know, to really deal with, if I could put it this way, some of those generational curses that we've been praying over for years and still have not broken. Now we're getting to a place where people are beginning to engage and see the importance of mental health. I mean, really in a real sense, and I heard you, Dr. Tevis, say in the outset, we got to stop viewing everything as crazy. You know, I mean, because really in a real sense, some folks are just struggling with some curses that have been on them for years. They have been damaged for years. And sadly, some of that damage has been at the hands of the church. And so now we're really allowing people to see the importance of not only that spiritual piece, but also what we call at St. James holistic ministry, ministering to the total man. and helping the total man realize that there are just some things you can't pray out.
Yeah.
You know, some things have to be, you've got to really find professional help. I mean, I love the illustration. If I break my leg, I can't, you know, pray all day if you want to. Pray all day if you want to. You're gonna be hurt and broke up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you said it, because one of the things that I say all the time is when we get to the doors of the church, you don't take your brain out and leave it right there, right? You got to keep your brain on inside and outside of the church. But I think that one of the things that the younger generation is bringing to the church is transparency.
Absolutely.
Is vulnerability, right?
Absolutely.
And so because they're bringing those things to the church, mental health has to be lifted, right? It
Absolutely.
has to be unearthed. It has to be talked about. I remember growing up, and you know, you guys can probably testify to this, but there were so many things that our parents and grandparents and family members kept from us.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We didn't have conversations about them. And feelings, what are feelings? But now this generation of believers, this generation of children, they believe in their feelings, right? And they want to express how they feel. And there was a time when young people, or we couldn't do that, right?
Right.
Our feelings didn't matter. Go to the back room and sit there, you know, whatever's wrong with you. You better not say you mad. You'll get your hind parts whooped. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's so important, because transparency, which we don't talk about all the time, because we're worried about who's going to condemn us, who's going to throw rocks at us, who's going to call us out of our name, who's going to say we're crazy. Transparency and vulnerability are key factors in improving our mental health. And so,
I've got to add one here, though. Seriously, I've definitely got to add one. You know, we got to definitely add that accessibility piece.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because sometimes even in the church, preachers have tried to walk this pedestal like they are above the people. And when you start trying to walk above the people, I'm sorry, you can't minister to the people.
You can't.
Here's my follow-up question to that. And I remember I reached out to you and I wanted to have coffee with you. So this is us having coffee, but everybody just listening.
Let me just get us a cup of coffee.
I got some.
So I feel like we're in this weird space in church, right? I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on pastors and their mental health, and pastors are hurting, right? And then there's also parishioners and congregation members, they're hurting. So it's like a whole bunch of hurt people in the same space. And in some ways, I don't want to say throwing blame, but saying, you hurt me, but you hurt me. And so where do we go from here? Because I do think pastors deserve self-care. I do think pastors deserve to be taken care of. But I also think there's some accountability that has to happen, because I've seen people come in my office unloading on me about things that pastors did to them. And I'm sure pastors get hurt by people in the pew. But so how do we both take care of our mental health and move forward in a way where it's not this perpetual blame game?
Well, I think for me, number one, hurt people.
Yeah, Whitney just said that.
Whitney Horry just posted that.
Yeah.
Hurt people. And so really, in a real sense, I'm of the mindset as a pastor, the attitude of the church I serve is a reflection of my leadership. So if I see you hurt, and I'm supposed to be, as the spiritual leader, possessing this gift, and I can see something is not right, and I don't say anything, I'm not helping you, nor am I helping myself. You know, not to be too overly spiritual, but the Bible even speaks of that, where God told Ezekiel, if you don't tell these folks about their issues and they sin, their blood will be on your hands. Now, if I see you going through something, or I see you going to the left and don't say anything about it, if I don't encourage you to go get some help or go sit down and talk to somebody, if you're not comfortable talking to us, I can refer you to somebody, and I don't say anything, then I have not helped you. I've actually hurt you. And this is a major stigma that has happened with the church, because sadly, the church has been so overly spiritual Or as Creflo Dollar would say it, we are so heavenly minded that we are no earthly
good. That's good.
And really, in a real sense, it doesn't take anything from us as believers, as people of God, to really understand that, truth be told, God created a therapist.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, really, in a real sense. I mean, the Bible says every good and perfect gift comes from him. So that's a gift. Now, if the gift of therapy, of having somebody who can walk you through your issues is there, and you don't want to accept it, then it's almost like you've rejected a God-given gift. Now, I got to say this too. I think sometimes we pastors have got to learn that we can't be all things to all people.
Yeah.
That's part of why y'all burnt out. Because y'all
burn out comes.
That God has other people to do.
Yeah,
absolutely. And sometimes we pastors don't know when to say no. We try. And then I have to say this too. We live in a fear of being rejected, and in some cases being removed by the people we serve.
Yeah.
Because, if I'm not there, or if I don't come, or if I'm not, sometimes you're right. Some of the responsibility falls on us because as preachers and pastors, we accept a lot.
Yeah.
But we don't set boundaries either.
Yeah.
So
wait. Let me reset the room real quickly. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. To everybody who's joined us, we have I think it's like 41 people watching right now. 41 people watching right now. We have so many comments, so many likes. If you are just joining us, everybody, please hit like, hit share. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. The month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is the Mental Health Awareness show with Drs. Janae Amen and Tevis Harris, and we are excited. And tonight we have the amazing, the awesome. They're our friends. We get to do life with these people, right? But we so appreciate you guys being on with us tonight to share with our communities across the world, across the globe. That's right. This is a global thing. This is going to get out. I'm telling you.
It needs to.
Conversation has to be had. And I'm so excited that we are pioneering this thing with some pastors in our local community. So it's not like we're reaching all the way in Atlanta to get somebody. Right. We're right here in our backyard with people that we call friends, that we call our mentors, that we call family. And so we're excited to have you guys on tonight. And tonight's topic is the church and mental health. And so, listen, all of us were raised in the church. Put it out for me. Like, y'all, I'm cooking a cake. But look, Lady Felicia, I'm cooking a cake. I got a lemon cake in the oven. Mom's getting it out for me right now.
No, don't let it burn now. Don't burn no good cake. Many don't burn no cake.
So as soon as we off air, we on the way.
Come on.
As long as we got ice cream.
No, we'll pick the ice cream up on the way. We good.
And so I probably have been so excited. I've just kind of kept talking, but this is my passion. I love talking about the mental health. I love when pastors are able to be transparent. And the thing I always tell pastors is that we're better together. I don't know everything theologically. I don't know sometimes how to sit with people and some stuff. But also, you can't diagnose depression.
Let's say that. I think she needs to say that like 6 more times for the people who ain't heard it in the back, right?
Right.
We are better together.
Well, you might need to say that to a couple of them on the front row.
that part. But,
I mean, really.
One of the things, Pastor Worthy, I was thinking of this concept, particularly as we're coming out of COVID. There's a lot of trauma in the church. So I'm sorry to kind of get us back, but I'm just loving this so much. And there's this concept called equity audits, where you review every policy, every procedure in terms of, is this an equitable policy or procedure, right? So my thing was, I felt like churches need to do trauma audits. Like every policy and procedure in the church, whatever messages, whatever songs you sing, are they perpetuating systems of trauma, or are they disrupting systems of trauma? So, for example, when you think about sermons that people preach, are they exasperating trauma, or are they helping people get to a place of healing? And so, as a pastor, how do you, even if you haven't used that term, right, because it's something I just try to make up, but how do you make sure that the messages you perpetuate are, yes, Erica, I do need a mic like Pastor Worthy. I told you I need one. How do you perpetuate messages that will not exasperate harm? So, for example, women often go, like, this is a true example I get all the time. They often go, they've been hurt by their partner or whatever, but their partner may be a person in the church that, you know, is a leader. So the pastor tells them, oh, just stay with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so how do you not perpetuate those systems of harm?
Number one, as a pastor, I have to be honest, totally honest. I mean, given that particular illustration, if there is a sister in our congregation who's in an abusive relationship, I'm wrong by telling her to stay there.
Right.
That's number one. And really, in a real sense, I just feel like, as a pastor, particularly when we look at where we are compared to the last 2 years, what I've discovered is, for me as a pastor, my whole style of ministry has changed, because we are really having to reach people with a level of compassion, but at the same time, you got to speak awareness to the present issues.
You do.
You really have to. One of the things, you know, that I have really focused on at St. James Church is really bringing health and wellness to the forefront.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what good is it for us to pray and believe for blessings and favor and to be walking millionaires, and then we're too sick to enjoy it,
or too depressed?
You know? Or absolutely,
Yes.
you're and believe it or not, that's where we are.
Yeah.
We're in a situation now where, just as much as we're talking about prayer and faith and believing God for this and that, look, take care of yourself. Go on vacation.
That's it.
Some things are off limits to other folk. You know, there's an illustration that I use at St. James Church about, we have to watch our circle. If your circle is too big, you got to be careful of that, because is it an asset? Is it a liability? And if it becomes too much of a liability, it's going to put you in debt mentally, focus, you know, emotionally. You got to really shift some things. And it comes to a place where I now have to challenge people. Learn the power of no. There is actually strength in no. Now, I have to be very honest and transparent. That was a hard lesson I had to learn. I had to learn that lesson. And I think sometimes, even in ministry, we pastors have got to learn some of the lessons before we try to teach them.
Wow.
And that's the thing. So how do you do your work as a pastor? Because I do believe when pastors do their work, and I mean their emotional work, then they're better able to lead. And they lead from a place that they don't lead from their trauma, their emotion, you know,
their feelings.
Right. And not saying feelings are bad, but I'm saying they don't project that, right? So what was, if you don't mind sharing, how would you do your work?
Now, when I hear you say work, let me take it from a simple standpoint.
Okay.
Number one, I have to basically set some boundaries. There are certain days within a 7-day period I do nothing.
I'm not letting them do nothing.
I know that.
You heard it. You know, case in point, Mondays is one of those days.
Nothing.
I do nothing. You know,
because for pastors, I tell, like, because sometimes I'm able to talk to pastors. Monday's a hard day because you come off the high of Sunday and then you're sitting with yourself. And you don't realize that's the time when pastors experience some of the strongest bouts of depression.
Absolutely.
But go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And along with that, you know, we have to be careful, because in the mind of a pastor, the whole cycle starts all over as soon as we give the benediction. So as soon as I close Sunday worship, my mind is already moving into, okay, I got to get ready for, you know. And along with that, it comes with the others. So Monday is that day of what I call rest, reflection. I'm doing very little. I might do some reading, some writing, but that's it. Along with that, you know, I have to encourage pastors, get some people around you that you can trust, so that all the weight is not on you.
You know, I think that's very important too. You know, getting people around you whom you can trust. But you know, sometimes, you know, in leadership, what happens is because we the pastors, we the head honcho, we know, we see the vision, right? We catch the vision. But when the people come back and tell you, hey, we don't see it, you know, they get offended, they become or they lead with their emotions and things like that. So how do you like separate yourself? Because it can be easily done where we make decisions based on our emotions.
Right. For me, a close relationship with God will let me know when I need to sort of back off. You know, I mean, sometimes, you know, as a pastor, I wish they could get it as fast as I do, but they don't. And what ends up happening, and all pastors are guilty of this, we get frustrated because the people are not moving as fast as we think they should be moving. But if we take an example of true shepherding, true shepherds lead from the back. True shepherds are never in the front, they're in the back. And that's because I want to make sure I don't lose anybody in the process.
I never thought about that, bro.
Right. I have never thought about it either.
Wow.
And when you're leading from the back, you can see
everything. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, in this season, I hope pastors are able to see what people are dealing with. Like people are dealing with some hard stuff. I cannot overemphasize
this is good, man. This is good, bro. Let me reset the room real quickly. For those of you who are just joining us, listen, welcome to Mental Health Matters with Drs. Janae and Tevis Harris. We're excited this month because this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we wanted to just take the opportunity to take the time. Y'all give this for free, which she should. Listen, this stuff right here costs, right? Listen, y'all get this for free, so jump in. If you just got here, hit like, hit share. Our children in the background, they're hollering, they're playing, but hey, Grammy and Poppy are here helping us. So listen, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is our episode on the church and mental health. And we have the amazing, I love these people. I love
you guys.
You know that.
This conversation has been so good. Like my mind is going so many different places. I'm trying to stay like on topic, but your wisdom and the way you're able to talk about things is just really like excited me.
Hey, let's go back to what he just said, though. For those of you who missed it, this man of God, this man of God just said a shepherd is rest or stays in the back so that he or she can see the people, man.
And so from your view as a shepherd, what are you seeing people, because I just think there's such grief right now. What are people grieving? What have they lost in this pandemic?
That's good.
That you're seeing.
Considering the fact, and I have to look at it based upon the church that I serve. And, you know, St. James is a church that is 7 generations strong. So when I look at each one of those generations, it's totally different.
Good point.
When I look at my seniors, they have lost that fellowship, that being able to engage. And for some of them, connecting and engaging to technology has been a challenge because they have been so used to being able to sit next to my sainted sister and talk gossip the first 15 minutes and share candy and all of that, you know, before service. They have missed that. So really, in a real sense, it has taken a toll on them emotionally because a lot of them live alone. And because they are home alone, they're just wanting somebody to just engage. You know, we have encouraged ours, call them, check on them, send them a card. They just need to know somebody cares. Now, on the flip side of that, we've got some folks right in those millennials, Generation Xers, those folks are dealing with job loss. They're dealing with decline in income, that sort of thing. Perhaps you've got a 2-income household that has now had to readjust to a 1-income household. And it has taken its toll not only on the house, but it affects marriages.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, it affects the emotional state of the children, because now there's some things that they were used to that aren't there anymore, you know. And then at the same time, you're dealing with children who've had to struggle with a brand new educational format.
Mm-hmm.
They've been used to the classroom. Now we got to deal with it sitting in front of a computer. And sadly, some of those homes not having internet, and they're not receiving assignments. You know, as I said, as a shepherd, if I'm in the front, I don't see that.
You don't see that.
I don't see that. You know, I mean, really, if you think about it, and this is something the old church taught us, we lead from the front to stop impending danger. But we don't realize that there's some danger behind us that we don't see. You know, what about that sainted mother who has to choose between medication and a meal?
Wow.
You know, we have to sort of shift our position. So when we begin to take that step back and start looking from the back, then, you know, as a pastor, for me, it changes my focus. You know, it's got to be more than just shouting you and making you feel good on Sunday. And you still going through some stuff on Monday through Saturday. You know,
That's good.
We have to shift our whole focus. You know, I mean, really, in a real sense, you know, when I was in seminary, I had an instructor tell me to always be mindful of Aunt Jane. And he told us, he said, Aunt Jane will sit there for 25, 30 minutes and let you teach the young folk. But Aunt Jane is looking for you to give her some nugget in that last 5 to 10 minutes that she can hold on to for the whole week. So many times, especially now, we as pastors have got to be always mindful that there is somebody that's waiting for something that's just going to minister to their heart, their mind, and their spirit. If nothing else, then here it is. I love you.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Right. But you know what? That comes from being accessible. You know, we got back to the accessibility. And I've shared this with Janae lots of time, you know, growing up in poverty, you know, the thing for poverty-stricken people was accessibility. Can I get to you? Don't try to save me. Right? Don't try to save me like you have all the answers, but the answer is accessibility. Can I get to you when I need you? Right. And so I think that accessibility idea, notion, thought is very powerful. I want to go to Lady Worth. I have a question for you. My Zumba friend. my Zumba friend. Listen. I'm really like super excited, like to see you alongside your husband. I was glad when you guys accepted the invitation. But as a woman, right, as a first lady, like how has your mental health been impacted by the church? Like how, you know, what's happened with you as a first lady, as a woman? How has your mental health been impacted by the church?
I don't know. I think more so, I guess, being taught. I really just didn't have it. I don't know. It really hasn't been affected much because I've been taught to be strong. So by me being taught, I just carried that with me. So if I felt down or I just date in from what I was taught growing up, you know, sitting under my different leaders, which were strong females, and they showed me how to deal with things when things came my way, you know. It really I told you.
How do you maintain your boundaries? Because I can, you know, I'll never forget one day you told me, it was in Zumba. I think you came by my table and you said, Janae, I want to thank you for sharing your husband this way. And I knew in that moment you saw me. You saw that I was probably frustrated that day. I was the word, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I can imagine as a first lady, just having to balance your own mental health and having to minister to others, but also supporting your husband. Like, how do you take care of yourself? How do you take care of your own mental health?
I have tons of hobbies that I do. I like to plant. I like to bake. I go to Zumba. I need to get back. I mean, I listen to music. I do whatever I can to maintain. And lately I've been saying, you know, I can't worry about everybody all the time. I have to stop and have time for myself. Even if I don't do anything but give myself a facial,
Mhm.
I have to have time for myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I cannot run and drop everything every time somebody call. I cannot, because if I give all that I have, then I don't have anything to give, when they really, really need it.
Yeah, and I think that's
I have to I have to build myself,
Yeah.
and not only that, I have to be strong for him too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I have to be able to have that time of reflection for myself and calm my nerves and have my peace. So when he is down and he needed, I can be there to
Yeah.
help lift him up.
That's good. And Whitney Horry said self-care is important. And for
It's very important.
those of you who are listening out there, experiencing some of the same things that Lady Felicia is experiencing, any stress, any worries, or all those things, self-care is important.
Mhm.
And Dr. Janae, will you give us some more self-care ideas
sure.
from a counseling perspective, things that people can do to take care of themselves?
Well, I think one of the things that we have romanticized self-care, and so we've made it all about going to the beach or getting massages, and that's just not every day. Well, that's not my life every day. I wish it was. Let that happen.
How I wish.
So we got to figure out, to Lady Felicia's point, how do you integrate self-care in your everyday life? One of the things I always tell people, Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that we have to get our baseline needs met before we can even think about some of that higher order stuff. So I say, saying you went all day without eating or not going to the bathroom is not a badge of honor. So make sure you take care of your baseline needs.
Yeah.
And then, like, I love what Lady Felicia said, because her answers were so human. You didn't talk a whole lot about, I go before the Lord. I mean, what you probably do. But you said,
that's the problem, right?
you probably said, I have hobbies. So can't overemphasize that. Get hobbies.
Things you like.
Things you like to do. That's really, really important. And then I said yesterday, community is so important. I was talking, I did like a little.
Look at that.
Yeah, stop the glorification of busy.
Yes, Edith Renee.
Yes.
And Robbie said, right, self-care is not a luxury.
Not a luxury. It's
definitely
a necessity.
And I definitely have to add this, because I think it's important. One of the things that I think is crucial, not only for her as a pastor's wife, but just as an individual, to never allow her to get so caught up in my world that she loses her individuality. I see that happen so much with married couples in ministry, especially, where one has received the call, but then now the spouse is caught up in the world.
We about to go to a whole different place. Let me click off the live. We about to have a personal marriage therapy session. But no, we have, like, this live has been, we have covered like 10 different topics. I love it. But I think, to your point, what's so important about self-care is knowing who you are. And what I love about Lady Felicia, this is me. I can't be nobody else. And I'm not what you think I should be. And I think we would get to a lot more better places with our mental health if we created a culture like that in church, where it's like, it's okay to be your authentic self.
Absolutely.
You know how exhausting it is to wear, I mean, we have to wear masks now, but like a metaphorical mask every single day. Like, no, let's create cultures where we can interact with each other in authenticity. It doesn't mean I don't respect you as a first lady. I don't respect your position, but it does mean that I see you as human and you present yourself as human. I think that's so freeing for so many people.
Yeah, and that's good. And I'm glad you said that, because I am a very spontaneous person, right? I am very busy. I find myself, my hands in a lot of things. And one of the things that I don't do is expect Janae to be there.
Absolutely.
I know her personality. Listen, she's really, to y'all who don't know, she's really an introvert at heart, right? She's really an introvert. She doesn't like to be out. She doesn't listen. I wonder sometimes she be like people. I love people, because like she would rather just stay in, right?
Yeah.
Just stay in. So I make it my business, right, to make sure like I don't drag her, because I love to be around people. I'm a people person. I get energy from just being in the company of people, right? And so I always make sure that I don't drag her into my space where I get energy, but she gets drained. So I'm glad you said that, because that kind of confirmed some things for me. as a husband and as a
Well, did it
spiritual.
convict something? Because you're talking about confirmation. Did
It
do
was
some-
confirmation for me.
What about some conviction?
Mind your
Conviction.
business.
You about confirmation.
We're not gonna go here now.
Okay. We this is mental health, not marriage counts. Okay.
You gotta have a little drama. You gotta have a little drama. That's what brings the ratings up.
This, you gotta fall out to make up now. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
So we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to, because you do the Dear Young Preacher, one of the questions I thought about. So a preacher who is building a ministry, starting a ministry, maybe just starting out, what would you tell them about building a mental health ministry or making sure mental health is spoken to in the church?
Yeah.
I would definitely encourage them to see the importance of that. One of the things that I do in mentoring pastors is encouraging pastors to engage in holistic ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that encompasses that mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all of that encompasses holistic ministry. One of the things that I would definitely encourage a young pastor starting a ministry, 2 words: go slow.
Oh, that's good. Go slow.
Go slow. Go slow. And really in a real sense, because if we move too fast, you're going to end up missing something in the journey. And you're going to have, I mean, it's almost like if I go down 301 traveling 70 miles an hour, there's something I'm not going to see. And if I'm moving that fast, trying to get to a destination and miss my destination, I'm going to end up having to backtrack.
Wow.
And what's happening now is the church, particularly in this area, is having to do a lot of backtracking to really engage and make sure that our people are well in every area of life. So with young pastors, definitely take your time, go slow, engage it. You know, I mean, even from the standpoint of not just with ministry, but even in your ministry, in preaching, in teaching, bring it to the forefront. And if you can't, get somebody who can.
Get somebody.
Get somebody who can. I mean, sometimes I think we think because we're anointed, we're just supposed to be able to handle everything.
Y'all can do the sound, you can do the miming, you do the sound, you in the mime ministry, you in the usher board,
Everything.
you in everything.
I'm counseling and casting out. I mean, you can't do
You
it.
can't do it.
You cannot do it.
You taking
You
a
know, so
counting them. Get somewhere and sit down.
well, okay. That's another message for another day.
So, but to that point, Pastor Worthy, so what do you wish counselors knew from a pastor's perspective? What do you think counselors should know about integrating mental health and spirituality, about honoring somebody's faith? Like if you had some, because I do teach counselors in training, what should I tell them?
Number one, tell them every situation is different. You're going to encounter some pastors that are going to be engaging, but we are still in a situation where we've got some. Let me put it this way: 2 years of COVID have come and gone, and we still have pastors wrestling with technology because they refuse to engage the 21st century. So if they are wrestling with technology, Dr. Janae, what do you think they're going to do in the area of mental health?
True.
So, do nothing.
That's what I'm saying. So in a real sense, they're going to pray it through. Right. So in a real sense, I think what I would encourage you is to tell counselors every situation is different. From a personal standpoint, I mean, I have to take the role of the encourager. Don't get discouraged when the door is closed. Because, really in a real sense, some folks are going to shut doors on you.
Amen.
They don't want to hear.
Look at Erica Davis up here talking about some Pastor Worthy. Y'all about to be my new leader. The doors
of the church are open. Will you come? Will you come? Will you come?
I love that. Like the doors will close. Everybody's not going to be open to this conversation.
Absolutely.
And you have to be okay with it, right?
You have to.
Being okay, being told no.
Right. And really in a real sense, there's some folks that you have to be a little more patient with.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a little longer.
Mm.
You know, I mean, here we are, as I stated, 2 years into COVID, and some folks are still, you know, trying to focus on where we were in March of 2020.
Right.
I'm sorry, you know, and really, real says, I have to say this is part of the issue with the church.
Mm-hmm.
The church is so far behind because we don't want to engage anything new.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, so, and I mean, really, if we take mental health from a biblical aspect,
come on,
it's actually in scripture. It is there.
I was about to ask you. So we have about 5 minutes left, and because you are a preacher, I can't not let you do what you do. And so, you know, I'm right. We close now. I see people who are coming, who are hurting. You know, these conversations that we have had, you know, people email us, they text us, we see them out there like, oh my God, this is what I was dealing with. I'm so glad y'all are having these conversations. Whenever I do mental health talks with groups in churches, there's so much stuff that comes out. And so put on your preacher hat, which I know you never take off. So what do you tell the people who are hurting, who are grieving, who have lost, who are struggling, who are trying to figure it out, who are trying to
work it out,
reconcile all this stuff? You know, I love Jesus, but I just don't understand why this person had to die. I love Jesus, but my marriage ain't working right now. I love Jesus,
but I lost my job.
I lost my job. What do you do?
1 Corinthians chapter 13 is the chapter on love. And Paul speaks about love throughout that chapter. But just before he finishes that chapter, he makes this statement. We look through a glass darkly, but the day will come when we will see face to face. To everyone that has ever been hurt, everyone that's ever been disappointed, everyone who's ever been let down, who's ever gone through a situation where you're asking yourself, why me? You're in that dark space right now. The good news is you don't have to stay there. Paul has made it abundantly clear. The light is coming on. And I'm going to be bold enough to tell you, Tevis and Janae, I'm beginning to see a little more light through this conversation. The light's coming on.
The light is coming up.
It's coming.
You know I'm churchy now.
The light is coming on. And the good news is, here's the good news. The light is not something. The light is actually someone. So as we continue to educate and empower our people, I firmly believe that light is going to continue to come on. But there comes a point in every person's life where you have to make it up in your mind. I don't want to stay in this dark place anymore. See, some folks are in dark places by choice. You know, we're hurt, so I would rather live in the hurt than take the journey to be healed from the hurt.
Oh my God.
Because it's a journey.
It's a journey.
It is a journey. It is a journey. The good news is it's a glorious one.
Listen to this.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you. I rest my case.
Oh my God.
You can begin again.
You can begin again.
Yeah.
You know, the light is coming on. I want to stop right there. Nolan's over here now.
Sorry, Nolan moved that thing.
That's all right.
There he is.
Hey, Nolan, the light is coming on to all those people whom Pastor Worthy just ministered to. I don't know if you heard it, but if you're in a dark place, dark space, you don't know how you're going to get out of it, the light is coming on. You can begin again.
Yeah.
You can begin again. Your heart can be mended. Your mind can be restored. Your life can be brand new.
Get that plug in.
Benny, though. Benny. So I know that we're come on time, and I just want to say thank y'all. Pastor Worthy, thank you for that message at the end. And that's the part about us working together. You can do that, you know what I'm saying, ways that I can't. And so I want to thank everybody for joining our conversation. And I really want to just have us to remember this week, remember the light is coming on.
The light
The
is
light
coming
is
on.
coming on. And so a part of that is
You got to
it's
preach that Sunday. I'm coming to
moving.
your church Sunday. The light is coming
And
on.
I'm not even preaching
Any
Sunday.
It's Women's Month.
Oh, that's right.
And so for those of you who are beginning your healing journey, and remember that the light is coming on, the light is coming on. And it's a journey. It's a journey.
It is.
But that
So we want to
there
thank
is hope.
everybody. Let's thank everybody for being a part of it. Again, if you're just coming on, hit like, hit share. People can still view this. And guess what? You can actually view it on Dr. Janae's YouTube channel.
Yes.
Go to her YouTube channel, and all these episodes that we've had, you can actually go back and revisit and listen to the entire episode.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it. Thank you to doctors, look, James and Dr. Felicia. Look.
She been prophet, she been pastor,
Prophet,
she been everything.
Let's see.
Felicia Worthy.
Pastor, prophet, and doctor. Girl.
All in one.
I sang.
The light is coming on. The light is coming on.
You know what? The light is coming on. So I want to thank you all. Thank you again to everybody who has gotten your people's power stuff.
Yeah.
And Pastor Worthy, based on the comments, we probably gonna have to do this again at some point.
Yes.
So I am excited because at the end of the month we'll be announcing kind of how we're moving forward with this. Some things we'll still be doing together, and then some things
She try. See,
I'm gonna do
let
on
me
my
tell you
own.
about her.
No, let's.
So
we closing out. But there'll be more opportunities for conversations
Absolutely.
and dialogue like this. And I'm getting me one of those mics in my next season. So
I got
thank
you. I got you.
Thank you for having us.
I
Oh no,
got it.
thank y'all. This has been amazing. Thank y'all
Listen.
to everybody in the comments.
yeah,
We love
for
y'all.
joining us. Let's
Love
call up some of the
you.
names. We got Crystal Light Bright Williams, Kenya Grant, Don Baldwin Gibson. That's Dr. Don.
Yeah, I gotta
Janice
connect y'all.
Diamond, Sonia Small, Max Aben. He was on one of our shows. Shirley Johnson, Brianna Walker, Whitney Horry, Sonia Smalls, Aunt Robbie Green. We got Brenda Battle, Addison, Erica Sharp, Darlisha Cherry, she's mother, Crystal Lane Cox. Hey, Principal Crystal, Elder Anthony, Sharon Wright. We want to thank all of you for joining us. Erica Mitchell, Denise Battle. We see so many people who come in it, who joined in, and we're like thrilled to have you here. So listen, I don't know, we got one more Sunday in this month.
Well, it's Memorial Sunday.
It's
So we
Memorial
won't
Sunday.
be back next Sunday, but we will be back at the end of May to kind of announce how we're moving forward. May not be a full show, just a little brief little blurb about where we're going forward. So.
Yeah.
But our kids, our grace period is over, as you hear our kids in the background. But we just want to thank y'all. Thank everybody for joining. We love you. And remember, the light is coming on.
You guys have a great night. Bye, everybody.
Y'all be blessed.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys.